Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a recap, in case you missed it, of the Battle Hardened Tokyo, Battle Hardened Toulouse, and Battle Hardened Milwaukee, as well as the PTI events that were attached to those. Kind of talk about how the events went and the dominance that is Lexi and continues to be dominant until she eventually LLs. But we'll kind of go over some of the meta, because this was the first big set of tournaments since Bright Lights released. Granted, it was the weekend Bright Lights release, so you're probably not going to see as much influence from the new set, but we did see some sprinkled here and there, so we'll get right into it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to check out my other content. Been doing a lot of Flesh and Blood content. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below. So I'm going to do an order of Tokyo first, I think is I have in here. I believe I have Tokyo in here first. Do I? It was Toulouse. Toulouse is first. Apologies. No, Tokyo is first. Then Toulouse to Milwaukee. So Tokyo was a Blitz Battle Hardened, so I won't go super in-depth over that. However, they did have a Blitz event, and they didn't have like graphics or deck lists, but it was covered on this this channel right here. So I'll link this down below so you can see the stream if you do want to watch it back. But at Tokyo for Blitz, at least, Chain took it with Dorinthia being second and then Kano being third. This Phi list was really interesting. I highly suggest going to see this Phi list. It was a pretty typical Phi list, but it also was running cash-in. It was a Crown Dominion Royal Phi list that ended up getting third, fourth. So really, really cool list. A couple Kasai's in there, but overall nothing too crazy. But that was the Battle Hardened Tokyo. Then we had the Battle Hardened Toulouse. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, please correct me in the comments, or I'll look after this. But Toulouse had 96 players in the Battle Hardened. Then they also had a Pro Tour event. The 96-player pool was mainly Jeremiah, as you can see. 18 Jeremiah in the field, 14 Lexi, 10 Uziri, and so on and so forth. Looking at this, again, this is the first time we've seen since Bright Lights was released. But Bright Lights didn't have as much influence on these events, just because unless you got the cards like the night before and you had been testing prior, people probably weren't going to take a Bright Lights hero. However, we did see one Tech of Awesome, which is really cool. It's really interesting to see the difference in meta between different places. So, like, this is Toulouse, which, like, the top three are Jeremiah at 18, Lexi at 14, Uziri at 10. And if I skip ahead real quick to the U.S. meta, you can kind of see how there's way more Bravo representation. Like, Jeremiah and Lexi still are the top two in Milwaukee, but Bravo is third. Bravo is only represented by 4 people in the 96-player pool for Toulouse. So it kind of gives you a difference. Vincent was also way more represented. Katsu was way more represented than you saw here. So really cool to see like the differentiation in meta. But obviously, I think this just solidifies what everyone already knows, which is the fact that Jeremiah and Lexi are the 2 decks to beat. Uziri did have really good representation. She had decent representation in the U.S. as well, but not quite as much. But yeah, this was the basic pool. Nothing else too crazy here. The biggest thing I think is the slight lack of Katsu and Bravo support, but that's just a meta call from a lot of those people over there. This is how the top 8 shaped out. So even though Jeremiah was the most represented deck at 18, which is roughly 25% of the meta, not one Jeremiah made top 8. And then 2 Bravos ended up making top 8. So 2 out of 4 of the Bravos that registered their decks for the event made top 8 at the Battle Hardened, which is really cool to see. We also had 2 Dash, 3 Lexi, and a Dorinthia. So a 1, 2, 3, 4 hero pool. Honestly, not as diverse as other ones we saw along the weekend in Milwaukee, but it was really cool nonetheless. And then the top 8 ended up shaping up like this. So Bravo ended up taking it over Dash and Lexi in both their matchups, and then Lexi ended up beating a Dash, and then Dorinthia ended up beating a Lexi. So only one Lexi was in the top 4, so we went from 3 to 1. So it looked like, hey, we might have a different winner. But Lexi ends up taking down 2 Bravos successfully in order to take the Battle Hardened over there and win the whole thing. So dominant performance by Lexi. It is kind of cool to see Bravo get here, but I think Bravo's matchup, they really just had to high roll and really disrupt the Lexi pretty consistently in order to win that matchup. I'm not a Guardian player, but that just seems like what it is. But nonetheless, it is cool to see a few Dash in there and a few Bravo. And again, the fact that there were only 4 Bravo in the whole entire event and 2 of them made top 8 is really cool to see. So that's that. Then you had the Pro Tour event. The Pro Tour event, not too much different from the meta of the Battle Hardened itself. And that's interesting of note because sometimes, at least from what I've seen, Pro Tour metas are a little bit more, I don't know how to explain it. They're a little bit different, obviously, than the Battle Hardens. You might see a little bit more cream of the crop rise up, and people are really specific with their hero choices. We did see one Arachne, which was really cool in that Pro Tour, and that Arachne ended up making top 8. So just seeing Arachne make top 8 is really cool. Obviously, the 4 Lexis is no surprise. 1 Fi, 1 Icelander, 1 Uziri. But seeing that one Arachne, the only Arachne to register a deck making it through, I want to see what their matchups were. I haven't looked at that, but there was an Arachne that made top 8 in Milwaukee, I believe, or not top 8, but did really well in Milwaukee, which we're going to interview on the channel. So be looking out for that. But yeah, one Arachne made it. Again, Lexi really dominating, and then the top 8 there at the Toulouse PTI. Lexi won 3 of her first 4 matchups. One of them was a mirror, so she was going to win, but she ended up beating an Icelander and the Arachne. And then Fi took it over Uziri, which is really cool to see. So we were guaranteed a Lexi final, no matter what. Or not guaranteed a Lexi in the semifinal, no matter what. Obviously, Lexi won the mirror, and then Lexi beat Fi, so it was a guaranteed Lexi winner for the PTI as well. So Lexi swept over there in Toulouse pretty easily, and that's kind of how that went. So both events that mattered, which was, the PTI and the Battle Hardened, were pretty much, Lexi favored. Then we had the Battle Hardened Milwaukee and the Milwaukee PTI and MinMax from MinMax Games. Definitely go follow MinMax's channel. They're doing a lot of good things for the Fleshable community, a lot of good stuff. This was also covered by good friends over at Savage Feats with Mansant and his team. So definitely go look at their stuff. But amazing events through and through. For theirs, this was a 119-player event, which is pretty substantial. 7 rounds. Again, similar at the top, obviously, with Jeremiah and Lexi. The U.S. meta, we're seeing a little bit more Bravo, a little bit more Katsu and Dory, and then a little bit less of heroes like Fi and Icelander. The biggest thing here that was really interesting was the Bright Lights inclusion. So we saw 3 Max and 2 Dash IOs, which I thought was really cool. And then as well as the biggest surprise to me was 7 Vincets. So 7 Vincet was interesting. I wasn't sure what that was. I love Vincent. I play her all the time, but you don't really see her much in big events. So to see 7, she's technically tied for the first, second, third, fourth most represented deck. It's pretty interesting in a 119-player field. So all of those ended up whittling down to these top 8. I didn't have a top 8 graphic for this, but I did know who won. So Brody Spurlock went undefeated in Swiss, but ended up falling to the Icelander Richard McMahon in the quarterfinal. Jeremiah ended up taking it over Kano. Evan ended up taking it over the other Jeremiah Gee, and then Jeremy, the Battle of the Jeremys, Jeremy, the Katsu player, ended up winning their matchup. So it was Katsu and Lexi here, and then an Icelander and Dromai here. Icelander ended up taking it over Jeremiah. Richard ended up beating Brandon, and then Evan, which was on stream, definitely go check out their stuff, ended up taking it over Jeremy in the semifinal in a really close Katsu versus Lexi matchup. So we had a Lexi versus Icelander final, and Lexi ran away with it. It was truly a high roll. The Lexi just kind of dominated that final. So Lexi ended up taking that one as well. And then we had the Pro Tour event, which saw a little bit more of a balanced meta. As you can see, 53 players in 6 rounds. A lot of Azalea trying to combat, that Lexi meta. A lot of Katsu. Pretty even across the board. 5 Max, which was really cool to see. And then again, 2 Arachne. I don't know who these 2 Arachne players were in Milwaukee. Well, we know one of them. They'll be on the channel. But it was really cool to see that. No Reinar, sadly. No Vincet. So we had 7 Vincet in the Battle Hardened, and then 0 Vincet in the Pro Tour event. So it's really funny. And the Pro Tour events mean more now because now they actually give Living Legend points. So it's 4 Living Legend points awarded for these Pro Tour events. So it actually is impactful. This one ended up being 2 Dromai, 2 Lexi, a Katsu, a Bravo, and an Icelander. So, a 3, 4, 5, 6 hero representation, which is really cool to see. Or 5 hero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 6. 6. So really awesome to see the diversity here. Even though Lexi is dominating these events at the top, it's cool to see at least the diversity in top 8. And this was just a landslide win by Michael Fang, one of the more talented players in the scene, one of the most talented players in the scene. Ended up taking down a Katsu, a Uziri, and a very close and good Jeremiah matchup at the end. So really fun to see. I'm glad that Katsu's getting in top 8s. At least we're seeing Katsu in the top 8, which is really cool. Just not quite there when it comes to the Lexi matchup. I truly think Lexi's pretty severely favored in that matchup unless Katsu high rolls when it comes to a skilled Lexi. So as you can see, every event that was CC based, Lexi took. If I remember correctly, they should have updated it here at the Living Legend leaderboard. Is that Lexi ended up gaining 32 points over the weekend. Both Battle Hardens, both PTIs, or all 3 PTIs. I think there was one more PTI maybe in Tokyo, but I just didn't find it, so I apologize for that. But if it was there. But yeah, Lexi taking 32 points. She's now currently at 958 points. This was updated as of Battle Hardened, Toulouse, Milwaukee, and PTI Tokyo. So there was a PTI in Tokyo, so apologies for missing that one, but she did end up winning that one as well because 3 PTIs and 2 Battle Hardens, that's 10, 20, and then plus 12 is 32 points. So Lexi dominating as we saw. I really don't have an opinion on her dominance. I understand both sides. I understand not giving her a ban because then you just cut the legs out from under the hero right before she LLs. And the whole point of Living Legend system is to be a way to rotate overpowered heroes out of the format. And the only way they could stop her is banning Voltaire, which would completely gut the hero immediately, and she probably wouldn't get another Living Legend point and just stay at 950. So whether you agree or not agree with them making people slug it out during ProQuest season with Lexi, she's going to Living Legend. It's going to be interesting to see if Icelander gets there. I originally thought Icelander would get there, but Lexi might just dominate that hard. It's going to be really interesting to see. But regardless, these are some pretty big events. It was even though Lexi did really dominate the top, right? It's really cool to see these different events have 4 to 5 hero representations. I thought that was really interesting. All of these had a minimum of 5 heroes represented. We see Kanos, we saw Arachnes, Katsus, Dash, Phi, obviously Lexi, Dromai, Icelander, Bravos, the whole gamut of heroes were represented in these events, which is really cool to see, even Dorinthia. So, at least we're seeing that, and we're seeing some cool matchups. We just kind of got to deal with Lexi being the most dominant deck. But regardless of what your stance is, it's really fun to see this. I'll definitely link this channel for the Battle Hardened Tokyo, and it's probably I'm assuming the PTI was streamed here potentially. But the Battle Hardened Tokyo, Battle Hardened Toulouse, I believe, was covered by the Eye of Ophidia channel, so I'll link their stuff down below as well. And then Min-Max Games and Savage Feats covered everything for the Battle Hardened Milwaukee and the PTI. I'll link all those down below. Please go follow these channels. These people are doing an amazing job at covering our game and giving people access to watch these events because Flesh and Blood's really spoiled, and I mean that in a positive way, where we're seeing what I would consider tier 3 events, right? Because if you have these events here, it makes sense for the national championships to be covered, call-ins to be covered in the world championship. But the fact that we're getting Battle Hardens covered and PTI events covered, multiple of them, is really, really nice. So definitely go follow everyone down below. Go give them the support like they deserve it and need it, so we can get more people covering these events. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear them, good or bad or indifferent. Just be constructive on the meta itself. Get your general ideas. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Again, if not me, go to our Flesh Blood creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff, including the people who cover this wonderful events. And I'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all.